we must at this point in time pay glowing tributes and pour encomiums and accolades on the organizers of this event. It is my honor to say that you do please join me with a very resounding applause as we appreciate the Group Managing Director of Aquarian Consult, Miss Aisha Maina. Please let's appreciate her with a round of applause as she comes forward with a remark of welcome. We can do better with that round of applause, please.
Your Excellencies, Mr. Prime Minister, Your Excellency, former President, please allow me to stand on existing protocol. However, I would also like to recognize Minister Samal Duggins, the Minister of Agriculture, Creative Economy of St. Kitts and Nevis. My name is Aisha Maina, the Managing Director of Aquarian Consult Limited, an organization that is focused on supporting businesses, aggregating the businesses and opportunities, supporting organizational human capital development. And this we have done for the last 16 years. I would like to welcome you all to the inaugural session of the Aquarian Consult's Afro-Caribbean Investment Summit with the country focus on St. Kitts and Nevis. This summit was inspired by a speech that President Orama of the Afro-Exim Bank gave in the Bahamas in 2024 at the annual meeting, where he launched a concept of the global Africa, which to me basically said, everyone of African ancestry, wherever you are in the world, is an African. And as we are global Africans, we must always come together, regardless of our location, and remember that we are one. This is why the summit was conceived. The objectives of this summit is to strengthen economic and trade relations between Africa and the Caribbean, to build bridges between the regions. However, this summit is also about far more than trade and economic relations. This summit is also about creating structures, taking action, so that our shared story is no longer defined solely by the historical trauma of the Middle Passage. While I do not discount by any means the immense positive impact of the Global North, I believe that real transformation begins when the Global South chooses and accepts itself, chooses to invest in itself, chooses to actually see itself as worthy, enumerates its own metrics for development, standards, compliance, and when it understands that the negative qualities usually used to measure its risk assessment are general human characteristics and not characteristics to only people of a particular ancestry. As long as we continue to seek validity outwardly, we risk remaining in a state of potential only and never move from there. I have to, at this point, absolutely recognize and thank the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis because he made a very rare occurrence happen. It is very rare that the Prime Minister and the Premier of Nevis go to the same place at the same time. But the significance of the times that we're in, the significance of the fact that this is the time where the Global South needs to recognize itself, needs to trust itself, needs to set its own metrics, is such that the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis is here today with the Premier of Nevis. We hope, my team and I, that at this summit, at this very summit, today and tomorrow and the day after, we would begin the journey to real transformation. We will begin to see that our differences are actually strengths and not weaknesses, because only in diversity can we grow. For so long, we have been told that our differences are weaknesses. And I think now is the time that we have to begin to understand that we cannot all be the same. We're 8 billion people or more in the world, and not one individual is alike. When the global north chose to see that their differences were actually strengths, they came together and had unions. They came together and had regional committees to the point that we are today. We, as the global south, continue to look at each other with anxiety. We continue to look at each other with distrust because the metrics that we're using, even as the global south, to look at each other is one set by someone else, not one that recognizes who we are, not one that recognizes the strength of who we are. We are continuously classified based on our color, but we are different shades of that color. It does not mean that we are different. It just means that we're one, we're diverse, and that is our strength. And we do hope that with this summit, we will begin to have those conversations, the conversations that are driven not only by governmental institutions, but also by private organizations, by individuals, and making it our concern, our business, not just the business of government, not just intergovernmental relations, not just because we feel like there's a huge playbook that everybody needs to plug into, but because we, as individual citizens, believe that we are one people. We hope that with this summit, strategic partnerships will be formed, regardless of the distance. The actual distance between Africa and Caribbean is very short. However, as we all know, it takes 2 to 3 days to go either way. That should take 6 hours. We hope and really push that this is the beginning of the conversations that will build those bridges, land, air, sea, and more importantly, spiritually, because once we accept that we're one people, we're connected. We hope that with this summit, we will all be inspired to look in the mirror and look at the next person and know that we are one. And understand that we can sit at a table, have a conversation, do the transactions, and not look at a metric of risk and compliance that is set by someone else simply because we have a certain ancestry. The bridges, I believe, will be formed. The time is now. I believe that the catalyst is not just for governments only. It is also the responsibility of private sector, of every single individual to get on a plane, to walk on the street, to do a transaction with the next person of the same ancestry and not look at the person as they do. Not look at the person as the way we are conditioned to look at the person, but look at the person and understand that that is my brother or that is my sister. Your Excellency, the Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew, and all the delegates from St. Kitts and Nevis, I say, welcome home. And to everyone, I say, welcome to the beginning of our future. Thank you.